Dr. Lata Shukla Dwivedi, Professor in the Department of Obs and Gynae, Anurag Madan Medical College, Gaya. I have to cover a very important topic, that is postpartum hemorrhage. Now, how to define it? There are two definitions. Quantitative, loss of blood more than 500 ml during birth of a baby is a quantitative definition of postpartum hemorrhage, but clinically, any amount of bleeding following birth of baby till end of puberty, that is 6 weeks, which causes adverse effect on health of the mother, is this is the more clinical definition. Average blood loss during vaginal delivery with more than 500 ml, then it is PPH. In cesarean delivery, if it is more than 1000 ml, then it is PPH. In cesarean hysterectomy, if it is more than 1500, that is considered as a PPH. Now next causes, PPH is an important cause of maternal mortality because in the pie chart we saw that hemorrhage accounts for 38% of cause of maternal bleeding. The other conditions 34%, abortion 8%, and obstetric 5%. And the next important is sepsis, that is 11%, and hypertensive disorder is 5%. So, hemorrhage is an important cause of maternal mortality, so we are more concerned to prevent and manage the PPH. Postpartum hemorrhage, more important is to predict and be prepared, and after that you have to handle the situation. Hemorrhage is the major killer of pregnant women, both in developing and developed countries. PPH contributes 25% of maternal death globally and 38% in India. MMR in India is still very high. That is 2019 per 1000 live birth. So it is important. This is as we know that Mumtaz Mahal, wife of Shah Jahan, died of PPH in her 14th delivery in 1631, and in her memory Taj Mahal was built. Types of PPH, this is of primary PPH, if the PPH occurs within 24 hours after birth of baby. It consists of two types, that is third stage hemorrhage, bleeding before expulsion of placenta, and true PPH, bleeding subsequent to expulsion of placenta. The second important variety is secondary PPH that occurs after 24 hours till end of puberty. PPH account, according to the amount of blood loss, PPH can be minor or major. If the blood loss is 500 to 1000 ml, it is minor. If it is more than 1000 ml, then it is major. And moderate if it is 1000 to 2000 ml. And massive if it is more than 2000 ml, then it is a massive hemorrhage. So these are the types of PPH. Now the causes of PPH, this is also very important. Unless we know the cause, we can't prevent it and treat it. Most important thing is tone, tissue, trauma, thrombin, and secondary PPH. Atonic PPH accounts for 80% of cases. In short, it is due to over-distended uterus, either due to polyhydramnios, multiple gestation, macrosomia, or there is uterine muscle exhaustion or inability that may be due to rapid labor, prolonged labor, and high parenting. The third important cause of atonicity is intrauterine infection, that is fever and prolonged premature rupture of membrane, functional and anatomic distortion of uterus. If there is fibroid uterus, that is tumor in the uterus, or uterine anomalies or placentapedia, when the placenta is situated in the lower uterine segment. Mismanaged third stage of labor, especially in remote areas where delivery conducted by untrained personal or untrained guys. Anesthesia is also very important. Anesthetic agent if GA has been given like Halofen, but nowadays it is not given. Next important, tone. After tone it is tissue. Incomplete delivery of placenta and membranes. Abnormal placenta, subcellular low placenta increta, per creta, especially after previous cesarean section. Third is trauma, that is during delivery there is laceration of cervix, vagina or perineum, extension of laceration at cesarean section, uterine rupture or uterine inversion. Thrombotic, pre-existing state like hemorrhagic state like hemophilia, acquired in pregnancy, ITP, idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, thrombocytopenic with preeclampsia, DIC, preeclampsia, eclampsia, IUD, abruptio placenta, severe infection and jaundice. And the fifth is secondary BPH. This is mainly due to infection, either due to retained placental tissue and membrane or endometritis, placental site trophoblastic tumor, that is distal trophoblastic tissue, epiovenous malformation, pseudoaneurysm in the uterine artery or in the uterine cavity. Now the clinical feature grid. What amount of blood loss causes what type of clinical feature? If the blood loss amount is 500 to 1000 ml, that is 10 to 15% of the total blood volume, then systolic blood pressure will remain normal. Clinical features will be palpitation, mild tachycardia and dizziness. OSI is less than 1 and degree of shock compensated grade. This condition is compensated, that is grade 4. Degree of shock 1000 to 1500 ml, that is 15 to 30% of blood loss. The blood there is slight fall in systolic blood pressure. Patient will feel weakness, marked tachycardia and sweating, and there is OSI more than 1 and mild grade, that is mild, this is called grade 3. 1500 to 2000 ml, that is 30 to 40% of blood loss of blood volume. Moderate fall in systolic blood pressure, that is 70 to 80 millimeter of mercury. Restlessness, marked tachycardia, pallor and oliguria. OSI is more than 1.5, moderate, that is a moderate degree of shock, that is grade 2. If there is more than 2000 ml, that is more than 40% of blood volume, blood loss, marked fall in systolic blood pressure will be between 50 to 70 millimeter of mercury. Then the symptoms will be, clinical features will be collapse, air hunger and anuria. OSI is more than 2 and this is a severe degree of shock, that is grade 1. So this is the correlation of greed, urgency greed, which patient you have to be very, what amount of blood loss has occurred and what clinical feature is there. If we see that there is a marked blood pressure, declining blood pressure or lowering of blood pressure occurs in a very late stage when there is severe degree of shock. Now we calculate the SOC index, that is heart rate by systolic blood pressure. Normal is 0.5 to 0.7. If raised to 0.9 to 1.1 indicates significant hemorrhage. Importance monitoring general management. Better correlation in identifying early acute blood loss than heart rate, systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So SOC index is a better criteria to identify the early acute blood loss. Now, how to measure the blood loss? This is a very vague term. Generally, in previous days, we used to weigh the swab, etc., and then count the blood loss. Now there is a brass heat rack. You just put this rack below the table and hold it, and it is a graduated cone-shaped plastic bag in which you collect the blood and it will be measured. It is graduated, so you can measure the amount of blood loss. This is very important. Advantage of brass bead, simple and practical, low cost. It is made up of plastic, accurate and objective, can be used in a wide range of settings, provides a hygienic delivery service. Now management, first you have to predict this patient can have PPH. Now try to prevent it. If you are not able to prevent it, then be prepared and then proceed. Management of atonic PPH, immediately when a patient comes in shock, put in 2 wide bore IV cannula, call for extra help. Keep patient flat and warm. Infuse immediately 2 liters of normal saline or RL. Send blood for grouping and cross-matching. Arrange for blood transfusion. Give oxygen mask at the rate of 6 to 8 liters per minute and folic extradation for the urine output to assess the shock. Management of atonic PPH. Immediately start 20 units syntocinon in 1 liter of normal saline IV at a rate of 60 drops per minute. Baseline investigation, you have to do hematocrit, population, renal function and serum electrolyte. Monitor pulse BP every 15 minutes, respiratory rate, maintain input-output chart, oxygen saturation by pulse oximetry. Central venous pressure maintained between 5 to 10 centimeter of water. Stepwise management of atonic PPH. First, after delivery, step 1 is massage the uterus to make it contract because 80% of PPH occurs due to atonicity. So if the uterus contracts, 80% problem is solved. Infuse oxytocin rate, monitoring of urine output, examine the expelled placenta and membrane for its completeness. If uterus fails to contract, proceed to the next step. In refractory cases, injection methyl prostaglandin F2 alpha, that is Veloprost, 800 to 1000 microgram per vector. If the bleeding doesn't stop, proceed to next step. Bimenstrual uterine compression, clinch fit is placed in anterior fornix, body of the uterus is compressed against it by a hand placed behind the uterus through abdominal wall. Compression of the aorta, that is also very important. Fist is placed just above the level of umbilicus, pushed downward to the spine. The step 4, balloon tamponade and tight vitreoretinal packing, but this is not done nowadays. This is a balloon catheter. And latest is your 30 balloon. This is battery, Fager-Stecker, Blackmon tube, PT cap and Rush hydrostatic balloon. The main purpose is to inflate the balloon inside the uterine cavity so that with pressure the uterine sinuses are closed with compression and the PPH will stop. Step 5 is surgical management. B-inch compression suture and multiple squat suture. And stepwise avascularization of the uterus. Ligation of uterine artery, you can do ligation of ovarian and uterine artery combined. Ligation of anterior division of internal iliac artery, unilateral or bilateral. Angiographic arterial embolization, and the last resort is your removal of the uterus, that is hysterectomy. This is you see the position of uterine internal iliac artery. This is internal iliac artery. Now external iliac artery, common iliac divides into external iliac and internal iliac. Internal iliac divides into anterior division of internal iliac and posterior division. You have to ligate the anterior division of the internal iliac artery. Now uterine artery, you can ligate when ascending branch of uterine artery at the cornua or in the level of lower part of the uterus. Now this is the uterine and utero-ovarian artery ligation. Simultaneously, multiple squat suture to compress the uterine sinuses. Compression suture, these are all types of compression suture. B-inch and multiple squat sutures both act by tamponade. Success rate is about 80%. Now advantage is preserves uterine because with compression suture you are going to preserve the uterus, so fertility and menstrual function is preserved and simple and quick. The disadvantage is sometimes if the suture is too tight, uterine wall ischemia and necrosis can occur. Like this is your B-inch suture while doing your cesarean section, and this is when the uterine wound is closed. Evolved from other angiographic embolization technique, the selective artery embolization. Gelatin sponge are injected into the bleeding vessels until stasis of flow is target vessel is achieved. Access is gained via femoral or internal iliac, and subsequently the uterine artery, we go to the uterine artery and we inject there the gelatinous sponges, and that causes the occlusion of the targeted vessels. The advantage is preserved fertility, useful in management of severe PPH if the other method fails. Disadvantage are requires 24-hour availability of radiological, or I should say the intervention radiologist. Patient must be stable. Complications include necrosis of uterine wall, contrast adverse effect, and local hematoma formation. This is the radiographical picture. Requires available facilities and personnel, hemodynamically stable patient, and fertility effects. The last resort is removal of the uterus, that could be hysterectomy, and it should be as far as possible total abdominal, total hysterectomy. Surgical management, obstetric hysterectomy in both patients, it is a last resort where all conservative methods fail to arrest bleeding. Main reason is abnormal presentation when there is placenta previa, placenta accreta in post-cesarean pregnancy. Atonic uterus, prolonged labor with chorioamnionitis, congenital anomalies or uterine fibroids. If there is uterine rupture, that can be a previous uterine scar, inappropriate use of oxytocin in multipenis women, and traumatic uterine rupture. Sepsis, uncommon indications, but many a times if the postpartum sepsis is not responding to antibiotics, commonly clostridial infection in which there is a bowel-medial sepsis, the uterine scar infection, then hysterectomy, obstetrical hysterectomy is indicated. Nowadays a device has been developed, that is a non-pneumatic anti-shock garment, NASG. Is a simple device that counteracts shock and decreases blood loss by applying direct counter pressure to the lower part of the body. Developed by MSA 20 plus years ago, useful as a first aid tool that keeps women alive during prolonged transportation to reach the hospital. Physiologically shunts blood to vital organ, that is anti-shock. During delays, provide up to 48 hours stability. It can save the patient to going into shock for up to 48 hours. It can be easily and quickly applied. Application requires 2 minutes. Can be used by persons with minimal training. Within 2 to 5 minutes of application, most patients with severe shock regain consciousness and vital signs begin to stabilize. The non-pneumatic garment is less expensive and simpler to keep, maintain and use. It also has less danger of excessive pressure due to over-inflation. Uterotraining agents in the management of PPH, as I already have told, but there are certain things. Oxytocin, nowadays we give 10 units of oxytocin IM and 10 to 20 units in 1 liter of crystalline solution infusion, that is an RL or in normal saline. Methadone nowadays not given, but if the patient is not responding with oxytocin and prostaglandin, then you can try ergometry, barring some contraindication like hypertension and cardiac disease, Rh negative. Misoprostol, that is 600 to 1000 microgram per lecture, and carbitocin, that is long-acting oxytocin. This can be also be tried. So these are the drugs useful according to manage the PPH, to control the PPH. Now the concept of golden hour has come. So once the patient goes in shock, and it is very difficult to revert it back. The golden hour refers to the first 60 minutes, that is 1 hour from the time of recognition of PPH. The moment you recognize the patient is having PPH, the first 60 minutes is very important, and that is called golden hour. It is the time in which resuscitation must begin to achieve the maximum survival rate. Now the rule of 30 in PPH, if the pulse rate increases by 30 beats per minute, systolic blood pressure falls by 30 millimeter of mercury, hematocrit falls below 30%, urine output is less than 30 ml per hour, and respiratory rate is more than 30 per minute, and blood loss more than 30% of total volume, that means it is very critical. You have to manage it You have to remember the rule of 30 in PPH. Now, many times you require blood product or blood component therapy. If the patient is bleeding and hematocrit is less than 25, you have to transpose PRBC, that is fast RBC. The only RBC you have to transfuse. Platelet is less than 50,000 of massive transfusion. If you are doing 5 or 6 units of fast RBC, you have to also transfuse platelet. That is, if it is less than 50,000. Fibrinogen, if it is less than 125, Rao precipitate or FFP has to be given. Massive bleeding or INR is more than 1.5, fresh frozen plasma, that is FFP should be given. Now there is mnemonics hemostasis, that is H is call for help, medical or paramedical, whoever is available in the ward or the labor room or the OT. Assessment and resuscitation of the patient, etiology, find out the etiology early, so that 40, that is ecobolic, ensure blood, then massage the uterus, give oxytocin and prostaglandin. S, shift to OT, higher center. If we are in the PHC or rural area, apply NAST and transfer the patient to the tertiary centers. T, tissue trauma and sputum of tamponade, that is recombinant factor 7A. If it is, we have to look for that. Apply compression suture, stepwise desvascularization, I for intervention radiology, and S, if you can do total, it is well and good, or go for subtotal distance. Prevention, what is prevention is better than cure. Regular antenatal checkup, we should insist on the regular antenatal checkup and institutional delivery. Improvement of health status of the woman, identification of high-risk patients and ensuring institutional delivery for them, severe anemia. Even a small amount of bleeding can be dangerous. Grand multipara, para 4 and above, usually don't want to go for institutional delivery. Placenta previa is also a risk factor. Hypertensive period of pregnancy can cause accidental hemorrhage, disturb coagulation profile. Hydramnios, over-distension of the uterus during pregnancy. History of previous PPH, 80% chance of PPH in next pregnancy also. So you have to take the history of previous PPH. Previous cesarean, if you USG show anterior line placenta, MRI is to be done to exclude the placenta increta, percreta, so that it can cause morbid adhesion of, you can detect the morbid adhesion of placenta early by MRI. Institutional delivery by trained personnel is very important. Routine active management of third stage of labor. Examination of placenta as a routine for its completeness. Cases with induced or augmented labor with syntocinon and in cesarean section oxytocin, which should be continued for at least 1 hour post delivery. That is in the fourth stage of labor. Fourth stage of labor, vigilant observation for at least 2 hours should be there. Now, what is active management of third stage of labor? AMPSL. Active management of third stage of labor reduces the PPH due to atony by 50 to 60%. Inject oxytocin 10 units within 1 minute after delivery of the baby. Delivery of placenta by controlled contraction, and the third is lupine massage. What is new in management of PPH? Now the transfusion strategies have been changed. Previously we used to transfuse FFP, platelet and RBC in a ratio of 1:1:4. Now the ratio is 1:1:1. Thromboelastogram is very important. Examine clot formation and its dissolution in whole blood and identify reduction in clot strength within 5 to 10 minutes. Correlate well with the level of fibrinogen. TEG, that is thromboelastograph, assesses clot amplitude and maximum clot formation. MCF. CA and MCF decreases PPH, which correspond to level of fibrinogen. Now, triple P procedure, pre-operative placental localization by ultrasonography or MRI, pelvic devascularization, placental non-separation with biometric excision and reconstruction of the uterine wall. Now to summarize the things, active management of third stage of labor is must in each and every case. Always be prepared for PPH. Risk factors are not always present and prevention doesn't always work. Focus on the basics. Don't forget fluid blood product assessment. Thank you.